Are you a tired old man trying to boss me around? Who do you think you are? Suddenly, a cold liquid began dripping down my head. Caught off guard by the sudden chill, I couldn't grasp the situation immediately. The strong smell of alcohol wafting from me made me realize that the new employee had thrown his drink at me. I didn't mean to boss him around. I had merely tried to calm him down a bit. It seems he misinterpreted it in his drunken state. This was supposed to be a special celebration. I intended to handle it quietly, but I could no longer tolerate it. My dad's the CEO, you know. As his son, I'm invincible, he boasted, but even as he saw my stern face and attitude, he failed to grasp the gravity of the situation. He must have been excused for everything up until now by his father's influence. If he's going to flaunt his power, then let's see how he handles someone with even greater power. When he discovers who I really am, he will plummet into the abyss. My name is Tim. As the president of a company handed down by my father, I had dedicated myself to growing the business. Now, approaching 60, I had passed the president's chair to my experienced son and was living a retired life as the chairman. During my presidency, I used to visit subsidiary and affiliated companies daily, traveling for work and keeping busy. Retirement brought more free time and a more relaxed lifestyle. Then one day, the company celebrated its 100th anniversary with a commemorative party. The event was set to be significant, with executives from group companies, subcontractors, and business partners making it a large-scale party. Although the current president, my son, took over public appearances, as the chairman, I had to show up for such a milestone event. Honestly, I'm not keen on public speaking, but due to my position, I had no choice but to attend reluctantly. On the day of the party, although the venue was spacious, it was bustling with many executives. Overwhelmed by the crowd, I, as the chairman, was even more nervous about having to give a speech. But I also knew that I had to switch gears, so I started making rounds, greeting executives of subsidiaries and contractors. In the midst of that, a peculiar figure caught my eye. A young man with an odd aura was walking towards me from the back. Feeling uneasy about his strangeness, I took a closer look and saw his face was flushed. His eyes were wild, and he staggered as he walked. He seemed to be drunk, having probably had too much to drink. Despite feeling overwhelmed by his aura, I preferred to avoid any interaction with him. But nearby was an executive from one of the largest subsidiaries, and our eyes met. Once our eyes met, I couldn't look away, and I walked over to greet the executive. Though I was aware of the man, it was a celebration for the company. I didn't expect him to ruin the party. Just as I was about to speak to the executive, the strange man bumped into me. Ouch! The collision was strong, causing pain in my shoulder. Hey, you! Do you know who I am? Watch where you're going. The man glared at me and complained, but I had been walking straight. He was the one who bumped into me from the side. His accusations were unreasonable, and I stood there, dumbfounded. Just then, an executive who had seen the whole thing stepped in. Hey, you've had too much to drink. What? I haven't drunk that much. More importantly, I need to make this old man understand. The young man retorted. Although the executive tried to calm him down, the young man wouldn't listen, and the executive looked troubled. Tim, this is Tyler, the son of our company's president. Oh, the president's son. Nice to meet you, Tyler. I am. Just as I was about to introduce myself, I was interrupted rudely. I don't need an old man's introduction. You're probably below me anyway. Tyler interrupted my introduction with a condescending laugh. His remarks were quite rude, but he is in his early 20s. Due to his youth, he probably doesn't understand how to behave in such settings. I was willing to overlook the impoliteness of youth to some extent, but Tyler kept expressing his dissatisfaction. I thought there'd be lots of beautiful women at this party. There are no beautiful women, just old men everywhere. Honestly, this party is no fun. Adults should understand that a company anniversary party would gather business contacts. It's unbelievable that he would complain when his expectations, based purely on his own conveniences, weren't met. I had tried to make everyone enjoy the celebration by arranging a top-notch venue, food, and drinks. Yet all that came out of Tyler's mouth were complaints, which even I found distasteful. But I couldn't afford to spoil my mood and make others uncomfortable. "Tyler, come on, it's a celebration. Please enjoy the good food and drinks." I tried to keep the atmosphere light, but it seemed my words only agitated Tyler more. A tired old man trying to boss me around. Who do you think you are? I had no intention of bossing him around or considering myself superior, but Tyler, influenced by alcohol, couldn't judge the situation calmly. That's why he misinterpreted and became emotional. I realized that I might not be able to calm him down, no matter how hard I tried, if he didn't sober up a bit. As I was mulling this over, suddenly a cold liquid dripped onto my head. Oh, what the? It smells like booze. Taken by surprise by the cold sensation, I didn't understand the situation immediately. But the strong smell of alcohol coming from me made it clear that Tyler had poured his drink on me. Just a pitiful old man trying to tell me what to do. This is what you get for not understanding how different we are, Tyler said smugly. But he's the one who doesn't understand. Tyler, do you realize what you've done? I had been trying to keep things peaceful, but I couldn't hide my anger after such an excessive act. Yet even seeing my stern face and attitude, Tyler seemed unaware of the seriousness of the situation. My dad's the president, you know, and not just any subsidiary, but the biggest one. So as his son, I'm untouchable. Tyler believes he's forgiven for anything because of his father's power. He must have been forgiven for anything thanks to his father's influence. Unfortunately, there are higher powers which Tyler doesn't seem to understand. If I don't set him straight now, it won't be good for his future. Get the president here now. I spoke loudly to an executive. Sensing the unusual tone in my voice, the executive hurried to fetch the president. What are you going to do? Call in my dad here. Even if he comes, nothing will change. Tyler, not understanding my position, still looked unconcerned even as his father was being called for. A few minutes later, out of breath, his father, President Smith, arrived. What is this all about? Because Tyler had been yelling loudly, a crowd had gathered around us. President Smith, who had just arrived, sensed the abnormal atmosphere and the crowd. "Listen, Dad, this guy was bossing me around." Tyler, fully believing his father would resolve everything, vehemently began to complain. "No, I merely asked him to calm down a little, but he wouldn't listen and ended up throwing his drink at me," I explained calmly to President Smith, who turned pale upon hearing this. "I'm not at fault, he is. Dad, tell him off." Despite the tense atmosphere, Tyler continued to press his father. But President Smith ignored his complaints and knelt before me to apologize. "I'm terribly sorry." "Hey, Dad, why are you apologizing to this old man?" Faced with an unexpected turn of events, Tyler was bewildered. The situation had become too strained to continue the party. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. It seems we cannot continue the party today. We will reschedule for another day. Please feel free to leave now," I announced to the attendees, who began to leave one by one until only Tyler, President Smith, an executive, and I remained. Still bewildered by his father's apology and my sending everyone home, Tyler stood in shock. "What's going on in this situation?" "Tyler, you should apologize too. This man is the chairman of the group." At the executive's words, Tyler seemed to finally understand who I was, the chairman. Since I had left the public duties to my son, Tyler probably didn't recognize me. Upon realizing who I truly was, his face turned pale, and he began to tremble visibly. He had behaved terribly towards someone higher up than his own father, whom he had been relying on. Even he could understand that his father's influence might not be enough to fix the situation. I waited to see how Tyler would react next. "I didn't know you were the chairman," Tyler stammered. Instead of apologizing, he started making excuses. He seemed to imply that not knowing excused his actions, but such excuses don't fly in the adult world. "Not knowing? Do you think that's an excuse? As an adult, you should be apologizing first, not making excuses," I said sternly. He became even more flustered. "I didn't mean it like this. If I had known you were the chairman, I wouldn't have done it," he panicked, continuing to make excuses even as I spoke. "Remember, it was you who said you didn't need an old man's introduction when I tried to introduce myself." "Tyler, did you really say that?" President Smith glared sharply at him. Tyler seemed even more baffled by his father's stern demeanor. "Don't just stand there. Apologize to the chairman." President Smith, losing patience with Tyler's reluctance, strongly commanded him. "I'm very sorry." Tyler finally bowed his head and mumbled a quiet apology. Tyler seems to be a person with high pride. Given the magnitude of the situation, normally one would expect a more sincere apology. "Is that your apology?" Just excuses followed by a barely audible apology. "Do you truly feel sorry?" I confronted him. "My son, I truly apologize." President Smith apologized again. But having been drenched in alcohol, I was far from forgiving. "President Smith, are you considering making Tyler the president someday?" "Yes, that was my intention," he stammered. "But it's clear now that promoting someone with such flawed character might lead to continual problems. I'm sorry, but if you're planning on making Tyler the president someday, I'll have to withdraw from the subsidiary." "What? Why?" Tyler reacted strongly to my statement. "This incident isn't isolated. I've heard from the executives at the subsidiaries that there have been problems with Tyler's behavior for a while. Continuing this way, he might cause damage to the company. It seems Tyler joined President Smith's company this year, and in just over 6 months, he's already infamous within the group. His usual behavior has been so bad that I've heard numerous complaints about him from other company employees. Though I initially thought these were just rumors, this incident has confirmed that most of what's been said is likely true." "Okay, I won't make him president." Sensing my seriousness, President Smith declared in a rushed tone. "You said I was going to be president. How can you change the story now?" Tyler interrupted the conversation between me and President Smith. "I joined the company because I was told I'd become the president. If I'm not going to be president, there's no point in working." According to Tyler, he had other career aspirations, but gave them up due to his father's strong wish and joined his father's company. He gave up his desired path because he was promised the presidency. Without that prospect, he wouldn't have chosen to work at the current company. Despite his desperate pleas, President Smith turned red with anger and shouted, "Do you not understand that your actions could potentially destroy the company?" President Smith, usually calm, raised his voice, leaving his son speechless. "Just because you are the president's son and people treat you well doesn't mean you can do whatever you want," I reiterated to Tyler, who then looked as if he had swallowed a bitter bug. Even his usually kind father and I, the chairman, speaking so sternly made Tyler hang his head. The party we organized was to celebrate the 100th anniversary, and we spent a significant amount of money on it. Your actions led to its cancellation, so we will be seeking $80,000 in damages. Reorganizing the party will also incur substantial costs. Tyler is an adult, so he must take responsibility for the trouble he has caused. President Smith, please do not assist him. Tyler will pay the $80,000 from his own earnings, no matter how long it takes," I stated firmly. At my words, Tyler's face showed despair. With his father's help, he could probably pay the $80,000 rather quickly. However, if his father helped again, it would only reinforce the notion that his father will always solve his problems. It's best that he learns a tough lesson and pays the money himself for his reflection. $80,000, you will do it. It's your responsibility, I reiterated. Tyler muttered under his breath, but I stood firm on his financial obligation. I apologize for the trouble. I will ensure my son pays the money, President Smith said. $80,000 is impossible. Dad, help me. Tyler clung to President Smith's legs, begging. But as long as I had ordered him to pay, President Smith couldn't do much. Come to terms with it. It's your responsibility for having done as you pleased until now, President Smith reprimanded Tyler sternly. Tyler collapsed and started crying on the spot. I'm ashamed to have raised such a spoiled son, President Smith said. Rumor has it that Tyler was a long-awaited only child and had been quite pampered. This situation is tough for Tyler, but also an opportunity. By taking responsibility for his actions, he should stop behaving as he used to. Through this process, I believe he will learn to live as a responsible adult. The matter was settled with Tyler agreeing to pay the money, and the meeting was adjourned. A month after the problematic party, we held the rescheduled anniversary celebration, and many people attended, including familiar executives and Tyler's father, the president. Chairman, it's been a month. How is Tyler doing? President Smith, noticing me, quickly came over to greet me, so I asked about his son. At my question, the president's face clouded over. Well, actually, he has been staying at home. Tyler has. I couldn't hide my surprise at President Smith's unexpected response. Previously, Tyler was a confident and assertive young man. Indeed, he had quieted down towards the end of our last encounter, but I had assumed that over time he might regain some of his former vigor. According to President Smith, the incident with me had taken a toll on Tyler. Afterwards, he seemed to have changed and was quietly doing his work. But seeing his current state, many people felt it was the right time to report Tyler's past behaviors to President Smith. Since joining the company, Tyler had been flaunting his father's power, abusing senior employees, dumping work on colleagues, and acting as he pleased. He had reportedly threatened to fire anyone who complained to the president to keep the victims quiet. Because they had been afraid of being fired, employees who had previously been unable to speak out started coming forward one after another, leading to chaos within the company. The president confirmed the facts with Tyler, and it turned out that most of the allegations made by the employees were true. President Smith himself apologized to the employees, trying to resolve the situation as amicably as possible. Tyler also made efforts to apologize individually to each person, attempting to settle things smoothly. Yet the resentment towards him among the employees seemed to have grown significantly. There were many calls for Tyler's resignation, but due to the repayment he owed me, President Smith could not easily let him go. Many employees found it hard to forgive Tyler, and he was met with harsh stares even when he did come to the office. After enduring such a tough environment for a week, Tyler could no longer bear it and became unable to come to work. Since then, he has not been coming to the office. Hearing this, I felt somewhat sorry for Tyler, but it was also a consequence of his past actions coming back to haunt him. If he had simply worked normally without wielding power, none of this would have happened. There are also payments due to the chairman. Rest assured we will find the right time to have Tyler work. Thank you for your concern. With the responsibilities of his own job and the need to rehabilitate his son, President Smith was indeed facing a challenging situation. Truly, my son has caused you trouble. If only I had educated him properly. President Smith expressed considerable regret about his parenting in light of the recent events and apologized to me again. Afterward, we engaged in several work-related discussions and managed to enjoy the party together. A few days after the party, as I was on my way to the office in a hired car, I noticed a familiar figure during a traffic stop. It was Tyler, but his demeanor had significantly changed. His face was gaunt, his hair unkempt, yet he was dressed in a fine suit, presenting a strikingly imbalanced appearance. Clearly, he was suffering mentally. Nevertheless, he was probably out because of the obligation to repay me as arranged by President Smith. It was painful to see him like this, but this was the consequence of his own wrong actions. All I can hope for is that he continues to persevere. At the same time, this situation has made me reflect on myself and my own son. Seeing Tyler's situation has strengthened my resolve never to become someone who abuses power. I also plan to ensure my son understands what can happen if one misuses power, reinforcing